What's up, guys? I'm back with another video, and today I was just in my prayer time with the Lord, and He was teaching me, because I know I've experienced this in my own life, so I'm going to use myself as an example. There were many times that God had given me, He would just show me things like a dream, maybe a vision, and He would show me like the plans that He has for my life. I just never knew the in-between steps to get there. And I know a lot of times for me being human, my carnal mind can get in the way of what or how God is going to execute a thing. So for me, it's like, oh, easy. A to B to C. But sometimes God's way of getting me from A to D would be from A to C, back to B, maybe back to A, then all the way to D. So the premise of my message is just never get too familiar with Him, because His ways are much higher than our ways and His thoughts are so much higher than our thoughts. It's just really important, because this is something that I had to learn. So everything I'm saying to you guys, I literally had to learn just the importance of not being too familiar. And honestly, when He showed me this, the revelation of not being too familiar with Him, it humbled me in such a way where I realized His grace and His mercy is so much more active than I like to think or give Him credit for. Not on purpose, but sometimes we get so in the groove, you know? Sometimes I forget that it's just Him that is keeping me there, because I know, like, for a fact, it's just not me. I'm not worthy. And I don't want to get too off topic into this. So, without going too much far off into a tangent, the Lord had me read the book of Matthew, and I stopped at chapter 2. And really, this word is going to be based off of Matthew chapter 2, verses 13 through 15 and 19 through 23. And with both of these little passages, it was really on explaining the birth of Jesus, the journey there, and God would send a message through the angel of the Lord to Joseph and tell him like what to do, because this is when King Herod he heard about, oh, the king of the Jews was here, the wise men that came to Jerusalem, and Herod, he caught ear of that, and he was jealous to the point where he was desperate to get rid of Jesus. But you got to be really blind to be that drunk off of power to decree such a thing. But, you know, this is the reality of, you know, the world that we live in. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. So, with that being said, I stopped at Matthew chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 13. I'm going to read all the way up to 15. Okay, so in Matthew chapter 2, verse 13, it says, "Now when they had departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, take the young child and his mother, flee to Egypt, and stay there until I bring you a word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him." Okay, so this is the angel of the Lord. God sent Joseph an angel to tell him in a dream to take his family to go to Egypt, because Herod is seeking to destroy the child, Jesus. Okay, and then it goes on to say, "When he rose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed for Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt I called my son." So I'm going to stop there before I go to the second part of this message. That part right there alone said a lot to me. God highlighting the part that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, "Out of Egypt I called my son." So the prophecy was fulfilled in that moment, that out of Egypt I called my son. So we're going to just hold that thought. I'm going to fast forward to verse 19 all the way through verse 23. Matthew chapter 2, verse 19, it says, "Now when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying," so this is the second dream that he's having. So the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, "Arise, take the young child and his mother and go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the young child's life are dead." Then he arose, Joseph arose, took the young child and his mother, and came into the land of Israel. Verse 22, when Joseph heard that, and don't get me lying, it's Archelaus or something like that, was reigning over Judah instead of his father Herod. So Archelaus he was now the king, which was Herod's son. And remember, Herod is the one that tried to kill Jesus. When Joseph caught ear that Herod's son, Archelaus, was the one reigning over Judea instead of Herod, Joseph was afraid to go there. And then it says, and being warned by God in a dream, he turned aside into the region of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. So these are the two examples that God gave me. So the first prophecy was fulfilled. God sent an angel of the Lord in a dream to Joseph to tell him to arise, take your son and your wife and go to Egypt because Herod is seeking to kill Jesus. And Joseph's obedience, him going there, that's how God, and that's kind of like a really ABC method. It's simple. It's honestly how most of us would do things. Very simple, straight to the point. A to B to C, right? In the second way that God fulfilled the prophecy in verses 19 through 23, God sent an angel of the Lord in a dream to Joseph again, telling him to go back to Israel because Herod is dead. Initially, Joseph was on his way to take his son and his wife back to Israel until he caught wind that Herod's son was now king. And he got afraid. And because he was fearful, and although we know that, fear is not from the Lord, because he was fearful, it caused him to go to Nazareth, which fulfilled the second prophecy where it said, he shall be called a Nazarene. So even though God didn't direct him to go to Nazareth, God still used it. See, God knew his ways are above our ways and his thoughts are above our thoughts. God knew that in saying that, he knew the thoughts and the plans that before Joseph even did a thing, before he acted on a thing, God already knew what Joseph would do. And that's why he told him that. You see what I'm saying? So God is so much ahead of us. Our carnal mind can't keep up with the ways of how God does a thing. The way he fulfilled the first prophecy wasn't the same way he fulfilled the second one. And that's why it's important to go with his flow, to stay at his feet, to follow him, to go to him every day for your daily bread. So, because God will use it all to get you there. Once God tells you a thing about where he's going to take you, he will use anything. All things work together and he will make it work together. Don't be discouraged. Don't feel that, oh, you're too far, you made too many mistakes. No, God will use all of you because God already knew all of you before you knew. You know what I'm saying? God is not surprised by the decisions and the actions that you make because he already knew the end from the beginning. And this is why we have to lean into our trust in him more than anything, more than we seek our own understanding and knowledge and wisdom of a thing. We have to trust him more than we trust ourselves, more than we trust anything else. We have to stay at his feet because God, his ways are so much higher than our ways. His thoughts are so much higher than our thoughts. He will get you there if you trust him. And even if you fall into fear, he will still get you there because God is not a liar. You see what I'm saying? So, again, Psalms chapter 46, verse 10, be still and know that he is God. Know that he is God. Know how powerful the God that you serve is and trust his way. Trust his way of doing it because it's a lot more certain than what we think. And even though it seems so far above our ways and sometimes it seems foolish, God's ways is so much higher and so much above than we can think. There's a limit on this carnal mind. There's a limit on my mind. There's a limit on my wisdom. There's a limit on my knowledge. But there isn't a limit on his, because where does it come from? Where does my wisdom and my knowledge and my intelligence and my being, where does my breath come from? Where does my life come from? Who is making my body work together? I don't have to tell my heart to keep beating. I don't have to tell my lungs to keep breathing. I don't have to tell my eyes to keep blinking. God is in control. He's more in control in ways that we don't even acknowledge. So trust him over everything. Trust him more than anything. Trust him. And that's my message for you guys today.